Welcome to YogiViews, where my guest is yoga itself, through interviewing those who practice it, teach it, sell it, or simply love it. I am Antonio Sausys. Just as in the Bible it reads, "At the beginning there was the Word, and the Word was God." There's an old Indian legend that says that at the beginning there was the Om, and out of its repetition and its reverberance, the Sanskrit was born. Yoga names its techniques in Sanskrit, and it is believed that the vibrational quality of these sounds enhances the effect of the practices. Yet, in modern times, we are witnessing how yoga is being relanguaged, most commonly to either make it more understandable or accepted by the culture it permeates. One of the examples is integrative restoration, or a very modern name for the ancient technique of Yoga Nidra. The man behind this new name is Richard Miller. Hi, Richard. Thanks for being in our show today. Richard is a clinical psychologist and contemporary spiritual teacher. He is the president and CEO of the Integrative Restoration Institute and one of the co-founders, along with Larry Payne, of the International Association of Yoga Therapists. He also was a founding member of the Institute for Spirituality and Psychology and one of the founding board members of the Baumann Institute for the study of awareness and its impact on well-being. Richard is the author of various articles, books, and DVDs. The most recent book, Yoga Nidra, the Meditative Heart of Yoga. He is also a research consultant for the iRest protocol that he developed and that is studying the efficacy of this method in diverse populations, such as the homeless, people experiencing chemical dependency, sleep disorders, chronic pain, and most recently, veterans suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD. Now, I think we get to the point where, what is Yoga Nidra? We've been talking about it so much. What is Yoga Nidra?
Yoga, as we've already looked at, is this sense of non-separation. Nidra in Sanskrit means sleep, but it represents a state of consciousness that's changing. When you put yoga and nidra together, it means to know yourself as this sense of non-separation, experientially, in your body, as you've said, very experientially, in every state of consciousness, whether you're asleep, nidra, or awake. And so it is to transpose this understanding across every possible state you could possibly experience. This, to me, is the real definition of Yoga Nidra, realizing this experiential, embodied sense of well-being and non-separation in every state you live in.
Mm-hmm. But it also is a technique.
It is also a set of tools.
Exactly.
A technique that we can apply in a kind of a systematic way, a set of inquiries, a set of tools that we can learn that address all the different aspects of our body, our senses, our mind, our emotions, our cognition, joy, and this wondrous sense of pure being or well-being.
And as a technique, it has different steps. Tell us a little bit about these steps.
They're basically 10 steps or stages to Yoga Nidra. The first one has to do with you understanding what's your deepest desire in life. I like to ask people, if this was your last day on earth and you were about to close your eyes, what would you like to say about your life? What would you like people to say about you? What's your deepest desire in life? There are many deep desires. One might be for this quality of peace and well-being. I was with a woman the other day at a homeless shelter and we asked her, what is her greatest desire? She says, to be married. Another one was to be happy in my job at work. So we can have many different deep desires. But say we take this deep one, to really be happy and content. So we want you to first feel that. Then the second stage is what are your intentions to realize that? What are you doing or not doing that is helping you move you in your life to realize this deep heartfelt desire? With those two in place, the third step is we actually try to introduce you to this sense of well-being, this quality of peace that we call an inner resource, so that during the process of your life or Yoga Nidra, should you get triggered or start to feel overwhelmed by life, you can kind of like take a time out and come back to this sense of well-being, rest and recover, and then come back to face your life again and to begin to keep your healing. Those form the first, we call that the sankalpa, your intentions. Now we do a practice of body sensing where we help you scan through your body. We normally do it lying down or sitting up to make you really sensitive to your physical sensations, because we know the world through the physical body of sensation. You know an emotion, you know a thought through sensation, your relationships. We want the body super exquisitely sensitive, so all the messengers of internal feedback you can begin to recognize and respond to. And we couple that with the next stage, which is breathing, that helps sensitize you even more deeply to these movements of sensation that are more energetic, so that when you begin to go off and away from yourself, you will feel it in your body, register it, which helps you come back, or where you are already off, you can begin to feel and hopefully bring yourself back. The next two stages have to do with addressing emotions and cognitions, memories, thoughts, beliefs. We want to find what are the negative core emotions and beliefs that trip you up in life, that prevent you from actually feeling your well-being from moment to moment. And Yoga Nidra to me is a very proactive practice where we're actually meeting these emotions, inviting them in, getting to know them. We're not trying to get rid of them. I think of it as messengers that have things to show us, tell us, our emotions. Like the emotion anger might be very helpful messenger to show us where we might be feeling a hurt. And so that we move from anger to the vulnerability to the hurt, and we're able to then ask, how do I respond to this hurt in an appropriate way rather than a self-destructive way? And to me, emotions, thoughts, beliefs, we try to find your core negative beliefs that you get wrapped up into, all your conditioning. As you begin to welcome these in, we introduce you to yourself as the witness of them, as a quality of being, as more like a field in which these emotions, thoughts, sensations are arising, so that you can clearly see how they're coming and going, changing, modifying, but you feel this sense of yourself as a quality, almost like non-changing quality of awareness or being, that in the next stage, as you turn into it, it awakens a quality of deep peace, joy, contentment, I would say deep equanimity, that then we can go back through all these stages and you can begin to see how that equanimity is there amidst the body sensations, the movements of breath, emotion, feelings, and beliefs and thoughts, so that then the last stage we begin to help you see how to integrate this into your life. So in every moment you're feeling that equanimity of being, even when you're experiencing a moment of sadness or a moment of anger or a moment of non-separation, you're still feeling a deep equanimity underneath of, even though you may be feeling a sense of separation, of non-separation, a paradox. So this comprises the 10 stages of Yoga Nidra in its kind of original roots that I've tried to bring as more as a secular practice. So in the traditional Yoga Nidra, when we were doing emotions or beliefs, I might be telling you what to feel or how to feel it in your body, or a particular image. Like I might ask you to see a particular picture or a cloud or something and see how it acts on you, or a particular color. In the way that I've applied it and tuned it, I would say, or developed it, instead of saying, why don't you feel this, I would more say, so what are you feeling? And can you describe it and tell me more about it, and how do you feel it in your body? So I'm helping you go into yourself, discover yourself, and then bring it out, as well as discover this deep sense of well-being.
Satyananda said that Yoga Nidra is one of the greatest ways of reprogramming your mind.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say you agree with this.
I do and I don't.
Huh.
I wouldn't say reprogramming, I would say deprogramming. It is helping remove or fall away all the kind of negative programming and conditioning that you've learned, and then it reveals the natural functioning of the mind. I don't need to reprogram the mind. To me, in a way, that's another superimposition. I have an image then of how I think the mind should be, so I start to program it according to that image. And that's not the way that I teach Yoga Nidra. I'm more interested in helping you remove these misperceptions so that your sensory perceptions are cleansed, and now you begin to see in the way you're meant to see. And I don't know how that is. Why should I know how to tell you how to program your mind? I'm more interested in you discovering your mind and how it works, how it functions in all of its naturalness. Then I think it's a deprogramming. All the programs that don't work fall away, and now the mind is functioning the way God designed it to function.
Even in the case of the specific applications of Yoga Nidra to, as you said, sleep deprivation or PTSD, so even in those cases?
Absolutely. Depression, chronic pain, post-traumatic stress, all the elements that we're working with in the different populations, I always have the same approach. I'm helping you peel away that which doesn't work, and I know then that that which really does work is going to naturally sprout and arrive. And then I'm not an expert who's going to tell you how to be or help you become a certain way. I'm here as a kind of an openness that's going to help you uncover yourself and come to who you are and your natural, authentic expressionness in life.
How long does it take to practice Yoga Nidra?
How long does it take you to feel your hand? Because the moment that you start to really feel your hand and your other hand and both hands simultaneously, to really feel your hands, your mind goes quiet. How long does that take? A few seconds? When we really understand the process of Yoga Nidra, it's a matter of just milliseconds. That said, when I'm teaching it in a systematic way. I'm giving practices that are like 30 minutes long, 20 minutes long, 15 minutes long, showing people how to do it in 1 minute, 5 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. To go through the whole protocol very systematically, slowly, probably takes about 30, 35, 40 minutes. But I want you to learn how there are different tools that you can mix and match. For instance, we had a fellow who needed to get an MRI. When he climbed into the MRI, it triggered off his post-traumatic stress, and he left the hospital, he said, defeated. Once again, his post-traumatic stress was in control. He came to our class. We taught him about his inner resource. We taught him about breathing and body sensing. He called the hospital up, told them what had happened. They invited him back. He got into the MRI. He did his breathing, his body sensing, and practiced his inner resource. And he said, this is his own words, I left that night from the hospital feeling victorious because I was in control, not my PTSD. He just did 3 of the components. And it took him, I don't know, he was in the machine probably about 20 or 30 minutes. But he was just practicing a few of the components. So we can learn to do the whole practice, which will help undo all the negative conditioning, but we can apply any of the components in the immediacy of the moment and bring them out as appropriate to the moment and what it's asking for.
You mean out of those 10 components,
Out of those 10
any
components.
of those 10 can be used as needed?
Right. So I could be practicing it in literally 5 seconds, a 5-minute Yoga Nidra, or a 5-second Yoga Nidra, or a 35-minute Yoga Nidra. I would say when you really have learned Yoga Nidra, it's all Yoga Nidra. Every moment.
It's all yoga.
It's all yoga. It's all Yoga Nidra. It's tools we have learned for life, and it's a way we live our life now. It's not a practice anymore. It's a way we live our life.
Have you found in your teachings that there are certain populations or certain conditions that respond better than others?
The research has been really important to me as an avenue for studying Yoga Nidra. I'm very interested in this question. Does it work? With whom does it work? With whom does it not work? And how does it work? So I'm really interested in these questions. So the research has allowed me a doorway into this investigation. To date, the good news is we haven't found a population that it doesn't work with and that it doesn't work very successfully with. In a way, that's the bad news, because we're getting so much success, it's like an overwhelming response of the people. So we're needing to put more teachers into the field, but we're working, we've done studies with homeless, multiple sclerosis, we've done studies with chronic pain, compassionate care fatigue, we're working with anxiety disorders. We're working with college students who are having stress in their lives and helping them coalesce a healthy sense of self-esteem. We're working with 3, 4, 5, and 6-year-old children. We're teaching preschoolers these principles and helping them develop a deep integrated sense of empathy among themselves and compassion at 3 and 4 and 5 that we're seeing as they enter into kindergarten, first grade, second grade. They're carrying that forward with them. And we're working with all of these veterans and soldiers who are experiencing post-traumatic stress, sleep disorders, chronic pain, anxiety, helping them for the first time through sleeping through the night. Some of these Vietnam veterans, they're saying to us, this is the first time I feel like I've gone off guard duty and I'm sleeping through the night. I just got an email from one today. He was saying, I tried all these different practices. Yoga Nidra has now finally helped me heal my depression. It's helped me go back to school. It's helped me get back into the workforce. I feel like I owe my life to the practice of Yoga Nidra.
Interesting. Is there a certain population, excuse me, that you enjoy more teaching to?
That's a good question. I would say no, because it's the individual always I'm working with. Like here in Marin County, we're bringing Yoga Nidra into hospice. We're bringing it into Homeward Bound with the mentally ill homeless. We're bringing it into schools with preschool children. We're bringing it into Head Start programs. We're bringing it into the homeless shelters. We're bringing it into military and veteran settings. Every population I work, because I'm always attuning myself to the individual. I haven't met a population yet that I don't enjoy working with, because I see the response that they have as they discover their own sense of well-being. So I'd have to say, no, there isn't actually one I enjoy. If I were to say anything to respond to that kind of brings it down to a kernel, I would say, I love working with someone who understands and feels the power of the practice. Because when I see them light up, or just relax for the first time, or come back to me and say, I slept through the night for the first time, or we had a fellow who had chronic pain. He said, I don't know what's going on here, but I have no pain right now. Now, his pain came back, but we were able to give him tools to begin to work with it. Or a woman who had emphysema, who was so afraid of taking a breath. And through the Yoga Nidra practice, she started breathing again. She lost her fear. I just ran into her a few months ago, 3 years ago. I taught her the practice. Like, she's a shining lamp now of Yoga Nidra. And she said, you helped me deal with the fear and the anxiety that helped me then heal through my emphysema and work with it.
Perhaps this is one of the jewels of being a yoga therapist, because if I'm not wrong, those who really understand the power are those who need it.
Yes.
The most. Because for a regular individual that gets his 8-9 hours sleep every day, you tell them, you can sleep better with Yoga Nidra. Well, why do I need that? I sleep great, you know. But this is when I believe, and I think you agree, this is one of the great aspects of yoga therapy, that when you are working from a therapeutic standpoint with yoga, those students are like sponges.
We do like the desperate ones.
Yes.
They've tried everything
Yes.
that hasn't worked.
Yes.
And they come to us in a way desperate because they've tried everything. We're in a way the last resort. And then they find something that finally does work. But in a way, don't we all have to exhaust all the ways sometimes that don't work to finally come to that which does work?
Well, as you were saying before, just as perhaps as a species, we are in need of going all the way to one of the ends, one of the opposites, or one of the ends of the spectrum to then come back, which relates also to, you know, we might need to hit bottom before we start coming up again. Yeah. That might be the case for a lot of us. For others, that's not the case.
No.
And we do know that there are some people that naturally vibrate in a yogic way, and they have this inner wisdom more awake.
Or, to add to that, why not bring this teaching to children, like we're working with preschoolers, before they've gone away and separated?
Exactly.
To give them the tools that help them keep that sense of unity and non-separation as they begin to progress through school and culture, that helps them define themselves as a separate entity, but they keep that sense of non-separation in place their entire life. Then they're not going to use yoga as a healing. Exactly. They're using yoga, to me, the way it was really designed, as an education that keeps them in their wholeness as they blossom into life. So I think our hope, we would say, always lies in the children.
That's very interesting, and I'm thankful that you're thinking this way, because certainly this is true preventive medicine.
Well, we're actually, as an organization, in the midst of designing a teacher training specifically for educators, teachers, who want to integrate this into their classrooms, both as a discrete practice, but also as a total integration. So they're using the principles day to day and meeting their students and helping their students learn it. And we're trying to raise funds so that we could eventually start our own school where preschoolers are learning these principles and growing them into kindergarten, first grade, second grade.
Richard, time goes by.
Yes.
And even though I could sit here with you, and I'm sure that we will have enough topic and interest in talking for hours, one of the very interesting applications that you have brought to this conversation today is with the veterans. Yeah. And I'm going to now invite you back into our show, because I would like to address this topic specifically. I believe that all these new syndromes that we are discovering, amongst them post-traumatic stress disorder, have been there for longer than the time that we've known of them now, or defined them. Perhaps there was not much done until now, and certainly it is a matter of concern that those who defend a country and that are exposed to certainly some terrible things, when they come back, their life is altered forever. And there is not much done about it. I believe that we are in the beginning stages of identifying the problem and acknowledging it. I believe that one of the very sad consequences of this is that sometimes the sufferers of PTSD discover that they have it once they are in jail, because they have acted on their syndrome and have killed someone or disturbed a community, or who knows. So I think that I would like to make that the specific topic of one of our shows, and invite you back, and perhaps, if possible, get some other people here, some practitioners, or even if it is on the phone or through interviews of some kind, but maybe even talk to some of the people that are allowing this to happen. Now, I understand that the integrative restoration name that you have given to Yoga Nidra is somehow related to this.
Yes.
So tell us how.
When we did our original study, this is a good story, at Walter Reed Army Medical Center, they asked us to lose the name Yoga Nidra because they didn't know what to do with it. It was just incompatible with their culture.
Yeah.
So they asked me to come up with a new name. So I thought long and hard and came up with the name Integrative Restoration. Integrative because it integrates the psyche and makes us rediscover this sense of wholeness in ourselves and integrates us into a full functioning human being. And restorative because it restores us to this underlying sense of well-being and non-separation. And then I thought of the cute acronym iRest with a small I because it helps the I kind of relax and rest. So iRest, also I for integrative and rest for restoration. So they loved it. The military said, we like that name, Integrative Restoration. Because of the results that we had and because of the response of the soldiers and the veterans, they came back to us actually several years later and said, you know what, we like this word Yoga Nidra. You can use this word Yoga Nidra. So now we call it Integrative Restoration, iRest Yoga Nidra. And I like holding the name Integrative Restoration because there are many people teaching Yoga Nidra simply a kind of a gentle relaxation. Whereas for me, to me, it's a very deep, integrative process of wholeness, health, healing, awakening to our true nature. So it's a total path of meditation. And because we're doing so much research on this particular protocol and its application, because there are certain tweaks that I've added to the original protocol, like the inner resource, and there's another one that I've added. I want to do the research to show the efficacy of this particular protocol. So I'm trying to keep the integrity from research to research to research until we can really show this works, with whom it works, how it works, why it works, and most importantly, if we can discover who it doesn't work with. I think that's very important too, although to date we haven't come upon a population that it doesn't work with. But that's how I came across.
Hopefully you won't.
And hopefully we won't.
But we never know.
But this is where integrative restoration comes from. And so our website, www.irest.us.
And this was my next question. Let's say people want to get in touch with you and perhaps to practice it. But as you say, also because there is the need for formed teachers that could teach this, how could people get in touch with you?
So we have our website, www.irest.us. Our local nonprofit offices are here in Marin County in San Rafael at our phone numbers in the book, 415-456-3909. We also have a sister nonprofit in Canada where we also have a board of directors that are bringing these teachings into homeless, military settings and other settings. So we have a sister branch in Canada. We're training teachers all through North America and the world. So right now we have different levels of training. We brought almost 1,000 people through our level 1, and we're certifying teachers who can go out there and teach this. So we have trainings, workshops, retreats, introductory workshops, classes throughout the United States and Canada, and every once in a while in different countries around the world.
Wonderful, Richard. Wonderful. I thank you deeply for joining us today, but mostly for sharing your knowledge and for all the good work that you're doing so we live a better life.
Thank you, Antonio, and to you too.
Yes, thank you. This was Richard Miller. Richard is a clinical psychologist and a contemporary spiritual teacher in the tradition of Nondual Yoga. He is the founding president and CEO of the Integrative Restoration Institute, and along with Larry Payne, he is one of the co-founders of the International Association of Yoga Therapists. He also was a founding president of the Institute for Spirituality and Psychology, and a founding member as well of the Baumann Institute for the study of awareness and its impact on well-being. Amongst other books and DVDs, Richard had written Yoga Nidra, the Meditative Heart of Yoga, and he is also a research consultant for his protocol, the protocol he developed, the iRest protocol, and he's studying the efficacy of this new method, or old new method, with diverse populations, such as the homeless, people experiencing chemical dependency, chronic pain, sleep disorders, and perhaps the topic of our next show with him, veterans suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder. If you're interested in letting me know what you think, please shoot me an email at antonio@yogiviews.com. I thank you for joining us today, and I will see you the next time.